John Flynn, Managing Partner with Act Venture Capital. Welcome to Irish Startup TV.
Great, thank you very much.
And moreover, thanks very much for hosting us in your office this morning.
Great, yeah, we're happy to host you and the Seedcamp guys this morning.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about maybe firstly what Act are up to?
Yeah, sure. So Act have been in the venture business for quite a long time. We started off in the mid-90s and we've done about 120 deals since then, over 4 funds. We're raising our 5th fund right now. And we concentrate on investing in early seed rounds and follow companies all the way through to expansion and exit. We've probably had about 50 exits at this stage, and we've quite a large portfolio at the moment because we've done quite a few seed rounds. And the trend over the last 4 years in Ireland has been a growing population of seed companies, which has been great. So the ecosystem has developed substantially in the last 4 years. We've seen about 5x growth in the number of seed companies coming through, and it's been an exciting time across a number of different sectors. And when I mentioned the ecosystem, we've got a high level of incubators and accelerators which have come on stream. So it's really a great time for entrepreneurs to be setting up new businesses and looking to raise money.
Working in Ernst & Young in corporate finance almost 10 years ago, and I remember looking at your portfolio and it was very much heavy tech and semiconductors. Have you seen a shifting landscape in the last couple of years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, back in the 90s, I think we were into infrastructure in a big way, into middleware, into software, and into semiconductors. And over the last 5 years, that's totally transitioned away, not necessarily from software, but certainly into media, internet, digital. And the reason for that has been, the growth of the internet has been phenomenal. The growth of, if you like, new business models and very efficient business models. So founders now can build a company with a very small team or get their first product to market in a fairly rapid time frame. So way back 15 years ago, we'd be looking at maybe 10 times the amount of capital to get a company to get its first product to market. And the development time frame might have been a year to a year and a half. Whereas over the last 5 years, with the onset of open source software, with the onset of data centers, a whole load of the build process can be outsourced very efficiently. Companies can become very scalable from a very small and defined unit, and they can do it in much tighter amounts of money and tighter timeframes. So it's a real opportunity for us to test a product and test a company, and for entrepreneurs to actually see if something works within a much shorter time frame. So we're looking for capital efficient models, and that means looking for companies that can take advantage of mobile, of internet, of open source, and all of the infrastructure that's built by the larger companies out there.
So that's a really interesting point, that the likes of Amazon, Rackspace means that now you don't necessarily need to have a massive data center. You can tap into other people's technology, which really brings the cost right down.
Yeah, I think in the last few years we've seen startups really learning how to exploit that, and the large multinationals that are building the Rackspaces, the Amazon, and the web services features that are out there, and companies that are out there are very much embracive and building ecosystems where you can tap into that infrastructure. And the great news is, if you build a product that works, it's very scalable then. So it works, and you can do it much cheaper. If you can get good customers, it obviously then, as you add customers, you're not adding costs. You're not adding costs before you have to add them. It's more of a sort of like a marginal cost as you grow. And as a result of that, we're not looking into the deep infrastructure necessarily. We're looking for entrepreneurs that have got, if you like, a deep and meaningful understanding of a sector and can bring content and application layer technology to bear rather than building the plumbing.
At the Seedcamp event last night at Google, backed by AIB and by yourselves, you mentioned a great point that it's very important to set milestones. So if somebody is looking to raise money, what kind of top tips would you have for them?
Well, I think the first and foremost one we will always want to see is what domain knowledge they have, and do they really understand their space, the problem they're trying to solve, and how big that market is, the dynamics of that market, and fundamentally, are they able to attract a great team? So a founder doesn't necessarily have to be an expert, but he needs to show leadership in that domain. He needs to show understanding of that domain, and needs to present himself as a talent magnet for resources as he can grow the company. And that can come in the form of advisors, it can come in the form of other employees that he's attracting, partnerships and so forth. So we're always looking for how that team can expand quickly and attract world-class talent. So I think for an entrepreneur raising money, obviously, they need to have all of those key elements, like it has to be in a large market, they need to have a unique insight. But if they can demonstrate and show how they've, if you like, de-risked the opportunity or made it verifiable by having people that have huge expertise or deep insights into that market around them and believing them, it justifies the if you like, the proposition.
I remember speaking to Jerry Colonna last year. He was one of the early investors in Twitter, and he said, if, at the end of the day, if someone comes at me saying I'm looking for X amount of money, I want to know where's the money going to go, who are you going to hire, can you name that person? I think that kind of reflects what you're suggesting, that it's very important that people don't just think about raising money, but they think about exactly what I'm raising it for and who I'm going to hire.
Yeah, I think, in terms of raising money, it's always hard for a startup to know how much to raise. And, I think they need to think in terms of bite sizes, being able to tell a story, being able to, resonate with why their offering is different and why it's going to succeed, who are the people that they've got around it, and what key milestones can they achieve. So have a big picture story, and then have some meaningful short-term milestones that you can achieve, that when you achieve them, it'll enable you to raise a next round of capital. So being able to identify over a 6-12 month period what are the key things that you can achieve and how much it'll cost to achieve those things is going to put some boundaries around the size of the capital that you need.
And also to give everybody confidence.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's and obviously start a relationship and get good advice, get some friendly feedback loops from either industry representative, and meet with VCs and backers early, because once you can meet with somebody, it may not be right for that backer immediately, but over a period of a number of months, you can highlight things that you hope to achieve and come back and show how you have achieved them, and that reduces the risk, and it shows confidence and it shows an ability. And I think that's how relationships then can foster.
The trust starts from that point.
Absolutely. I think I mentioned last night at our event that when you're seeking money, a lot of the time you get advice.
Yeah.
And when you're seeking advice, it generally leads to a better outcome in terms of getting money.
So again, going back to that advice that you gave last night, very much get out there and find out who you need and go and talk to them and get their advice, and then relationships can start to grow organically from there as well, I guess. Yeah,
the ecosystem in most hubs, and we've got a great hub here in Dublin, everybody wants to help, and there's a lot of people around. I mean, we've got a large portfolio company, so from our point of view, when we're trying to evaluate an opportunity, we try and connect companies and promoters with other portfolio companies that may have seen the same business model challenges, may have seen the same product development challenges, or even attracting the right type of talent. And from our point of view, it's a value add process for the prospect or for the potential portfolio or investee company. But it's also a way for us to actually find out more about the promoters, get comfortable with them, see how they take on advice. It's important for us to recognize that we can provide value. We don't want an investment where we can't provide value, and it's important for the founder to understand how that value equation works and how they can infiltrate a VC's portfolio and maybe get customers, maybe get partners, or just maybe get advice.
On the relationships piece, turning back to this morning's event and Seedcamp, would you like to briefly highlight your involvement and perhaps the value proposition of Seedcamp from your perspective?
So we got involved in Seedcamp back about 4 years ago when they were raising one of their first funds, and we really liked what they were doing because as startups start out on their journey, it's very hard to get that advice sometimes and get those networks. And what we always like to see is a startup with global ambition. So whilst hubs are great, you've got to get out there, and you've got to get out there on an international stage, compete with the best, get to know who the competitors are in your space. And what we loved about Seedcamp is that they have a global network and they see things from a global perspective. So they're based in London, but they do an awful lot of touring the globe, meeting with key VCs, key promoters, and for a startup being able to infiltrate that network,
leveraging that network.
Absolutely, and that's what we really liked about it, because from a seed investor point of view, as we are, we always syndicate our deals, and we try and syndicate it with key luminaries in the market, and try and build our own network. So from our point of view, investing in the Seedcamp fund, which we did, was about building that network, so that when we're working with portfolio companies, it can extend their network, it extends our network, and it's all about growing that value add process.
John, thank you very much for your time this morning and for sharing your insights into the venture market.
Great, thank you, Richard.